All right, our next speaker is Kye Holtan-Brown. Welcome to the stage.
All right.
All right, let's get going. So we're going to be talking about building decarbonization, especially doing it via building performance standards, because operational use of buildings, existing buildings, are over a quarter of greenhouse gas emissions across the globe every year. Now, building performance standards are one way to deal with that. All of the little green dots are cities and states that have implemented standards. All the little blue dots are ones that are coming. So, what do building and performance standards do? Well, a lot of them tag greenhouse gas emissions or EUI. We're going to talk about EUI tonight. Energy use intensity, it is basically the energy efficiency of a building, like miles per kilowatt hour on a car. So Building Performance Colorado covers about 8,000 buildings across the state. Energize Denver, about 3,000 buildings in Denver, and there's quite a bit of overlap. A lot of buildings have to meet both. And these standards look at EUI and they're trying to drive it down. Both sets of standards, and these are laws, say by 2030, buildings need to be 30% less energy use than they are today. 2030, that's like 5 years from now. So we're going to walk through an example of 30 buildings, a portfolio that I've worked on recently. Some data has been changed to protect the innocent buildings. So first thing on this portfolio, size, location, use type. Got to have those three, and then you can figure out what set of performance standards the buildings have to meet. And right off the top, there's a chunk that don't have to meet any due to size or location. So now we can focus on the ones that have to meet Denver or Colorado standards, and we're down to 19 buildings now instead of 30. It's a little bit more manageable of a group. So I'm working with the client, they're worried about what they have to do, and they're worried about how much they have to do. So now we look at each building and say, how much does each building need to reduce its energy use to hit its target? 13 buildings, because about, a chunk of them are already operating at their 2030 target. So we say, what is it going to cost if we do nothing? That's kind of the worst case. These numbers tend to be jaw-dropping for owners. This owner, for the next 15-year hold period, $72 million they'll shell out if they do nothing. So they say, all right, let's get going. Let's get a regulatory compliance plan and a decarb strategy going. So we do, but every building is a little different. And even a summary snapshot would look something like this. A whole lot of tasks across a whole lot of buildings. So let's start with the first task we've got to do on every building, which is verify the building data. We have to do that because a good 80% of buildings have the wrong data. Wrong square footage. This portfolio, half the buildings don't even have drawings. I have to go out and measure. And this was in the July heat, it kind of sucked. But we got it done, got the correct gross square footage for the buildings, important. Next thing, we looked inside the buildings. We need to make sure they've got the right use type, because their targets are based on use type. 30% of the buildings had the wrong use type, or they needed a breakout of a special use. 30%. How hard is that to get your use type right? Well, apparently it was. Luckily, the property manager had done a great job of linking the Excel data to Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and almost all of the energy data was correct. So we've got to correct a few things on most of the buildings. We have to submit a target adjustment to the city. Oh wait, we got to stop and get a third-party data verifier and hire that person in to do it, but we do it. And it's a good thing we do, because this is where we were, and the one that worries us the most is that red, because more than 30% energy use reduction, that's kind of hard on an existing building. Once we correct the data, we've got a much smaller chunk that's going to be our difficult problems or difficult buildings. And our 72 million exposure or risk goes down to 56. Cold comfort for the owner who's looking at that number and still absolutely fainting, but it's better. The next one is, when are we going to get this done? Well, we barely got through verifying the data, and we've got 2 months until the first interim target hits for Denver. we're not gonna get the building upgraded by then, any of them. So we do more paperwork and submit for a timeline adjustment, which takes a little more effort and cost, but it's worth it, because now we can spend our time figuring out how to upgrade the building and get to where we need to go by 2030. Thanks.
Nicely done. Oh, I love how these are fitting together. And we're learning a lot. This is really, really great. So love it. So you're done. Breathe. That's what I always tell the speakers is breathe, breathe.